Nadine. Sorry about the sunglasses, got an eye problem. I will not be speaking about the suffering of Packy and the 7 other elephants, as it is evident that none of you care. I am actually appalled by the stoicism and lack of compassion I have seen on this stage over the past year. But I will discuss 4 major points in regard to the zoo. One is the lack of transparency, in which Metro is complicit with the zoo's refusal to allow an outside veterinarian to examine Packy and release results, prognosis, location, and future accessibility to the public. Also, Metro is complicit with the zoo's refusal to inform the public of the elephant breeding plans and who is behind them, which is the American Zoological Society. Also, the cover-up regarding the firing of Dr. Finnegan and Kim Smith. Second point is the failure to carry out elected duties, the lack of oversight of the zoo, the failure to demand accountability from the zoo officials, the failure to demand the zoo officials act in the best interests of the zoo elephants, and the failure to deliver on the promises regarding the 2008 zoo bond. The next thing is gross mismanagement, wasting millions of dollars in taxpayer money by allowing zoo bond budgets to balloon out of control. The lack of oversight of zoo projects, taking a hands-off approach to decision-making at the zoo, which represents 26% of Metro's operating budget, and blindly rubber stamping the proposals and expenditures of zoo officials rather than researching the facts for yourselves, and the inability or unwillingness to alter plans when facts and conditions demand it. And lastly, being out of touch, operating in a vacuum by refusing public input and participation in decision-making, disregard for the will of the public, and finally, being stuck in an antiquated zoo model rather than evolving to the 21st century. Free Packy, that's all.
Thank you. Nadine?
Me?
Oh, that was Nadine. Okay.
Sandy is next,
Sandy?
I think.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sandy. Good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of Packy and the other Oregon Zoo elephants. I'd like to take my time to share with you a recent editorial from Scientific American. It appeared in the March issue of this year. And it's titled, "Free the Elephants and Orcas in Captivity." I've turned in a copy of the entire article, but I'd like to just stress the elephant part. So I'm not reading it verbatim, but I'm not putting anything in. It starts by mentioning that chimpanzees are now being relocated to sanctuary because, in part, quote, "like us, they are highly intelligent, emotional, and self-aware. As with chimps, the intelligence of of elephants is undeniable. Boasting some of the most intricate brains around, they have recognized themselves in mirrors, indicating that they too have a concept of self. They're cooperative problem solvers. Elephants are adept tool makers, fashioning switches with which to shoo flies, for example. Related elephant mothers and their offspring form tight-knit clans in which they share parenting duties and shield children from predators. When a clan member dies, elephants mourn. There is no other word for it. At Kenya's Samburu National Reserve, zoologist Ian Douglas Hamilton and his team witnessed elephants from various families tending to an ailing matriarch named Eleanor. Another matriarch used her tusks to lift Eleanor to her feet when she collapsed. Even after Eleanor died, elephants repeatedly visited and caressed her body. Cynthia Moss and other researchers have also reported elephants sprinkling their dead with soil and covering them with branches and leaves. A number of other species share similar human-like traits. What distinguishes elephants, what makes holding them in captivity so uniquely fraught, is one of the same features that makes them so attractive to zoogoers, their immense size. African elephants can weigh as much as 15,000 pounds and are used to traveling between waterholes and feeding sites hundreds of miles apart. Confined elephants often spend their time standing around in cramped quarters. These torturous conditions inflict serious physical and psychological damage on such smart and sensitive animals. Zoo elephants die young, often after becoming obese and infertile. They frequently develop psychological tics, such as swaying and head bobbing. Citing ethical reasons, several large zoos in the US, Canada, the UK, and India have closed their elephant exhibits. Elephants are not the only intelligent species that deserves our respect and attention, but they face unique hardships in captivity. Even though many zoos raise awareness about the plight of animals in the wild, the suffering of captive elephants in particular overshadows this worthy goal. The confined individuals who can survive should be released, and let me just emphasize this last sentence, captive breeding programs should be terminated. Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney?
Good afternoon, President Hughes and Metro Councilors. Today, I want to focus on separating fact from fiction in regards to the elephant program at the Oregon Zoo. I think it's important that the public know the truth about how the elephants are faring at the zoo, so they can make an informed decision about what their future should be. 3 celebrity activists, including Bob Barker and Dame Daphne Sheldrick, recently wrote letters to Metro and the zoo asking for Packy to be released to sanctuary instead of being hidden from public view and languishing from TB and a host of other zoo-related illnesses. The zoo has been busy spreading happy news stories about the new Elephant Lands exhibit that are at variance with the facts. For instance, in the July 1st Oregonian, a story ran about baby Lily splashing around in a pool. In the article was this statement: "Soon the whole herd of 8 will be able to soak together when Elephant Lands is completed in 2015. Has elephant management changed that dramatically, that now all 8 elephants are able to mingle together? That has never happened at the Oregon Zoo, or any zoo that I'm aware of. Per Metro's own documents, each bull elephant is managed as a separate herd. So unless council has some new information about how the elephants are managed, this is simply fiction." What isn't fiction, unfortunately, according to this Metro document from 2011, the zoo plans to breed female elephants starting at 8 years of age. And Rose, too, is going to be bred so that she has a baby every 4 years. Since elephants are pregnant for 22 months, that doesn't give Rose, too, a lot of time without being pregnant. Is that really in her best interest? The zoo talks a lot about matriarchal herds, but not much about the mother's welfare. And other breeding females and males will be purchased to increase the zoo's existing herd of 8 to an eventual proposed total of 19. Mention is made in this 2011 document about foot disease that the elephants suffered prior to 1980, but no mention is made about it after that time period, when in fact, the elephants have continued to suffer from foot disease. And in all these happy elephant stories, there is no mention of Tusco, Rama, or Packy, and the TB that they are all infected with. The truth, they say, sets you free. My hope is that it will set the elephants free, and Packy needs to be free now, so that he can have some time before he dies in a place that really and truly has the ability and space to care for elephants. It's a fiction to say that Packy or any of the elephants are thriving at the zoo. The truth is that Packy needs to be released to sanctuary now so that we can honor him for his 52 years of devoted and selfless service. Free Packy now.
Thank you. Sundari Sitaram, Betty Stepak, and Sean Gupta. You can go in which order you want to go in, but tell me who you are
called her name first.
Okay.
Then you called mine, then you called his.
All right,
That's how we do it.
all right.
Hi, my name is Sundari, and I do stand in solidarity with Free the Oregon Zoo elephants. And I remain deeply embarrassed by the breeding program that I didn't even know existed here until I flew overseas to fight elephant abuse in Asia. Mostly that 2 of the elephants that were bred here just simply disappeared, can't be tracked down. But far more importantly, I think, are the 2 elephants that are in the circus. So I stand in support that what's going on there is in nobody's best interest. But it seems to me we just need to have a different conversation. A conversation where we can look at, is this really what you want to leave? I don't understand when we are all, but especially you, are on the precipice of being able to be world leaders, where people, when they find out the truth, because they will, because we're going to tell them as kindly and as generously as I am speaking to you right now, and with your generosity to listen to me, is how we will tell the truth, because it doesn't even need to be exaggerated of what is happening. The conversation could turn to, we could leave a legacy of the status quo and say, you bet I educated my children at the Oregon Zoo. I taught them that it is perfectly normal to bob and sway, that it is perfectly normal to sodomize elephants, that it is perfectly okay to keep somebody trapped for 52 years if my child can watch them for the average 78 seconds that children are filmed watching elephants in exhibits. I would just love to say, could we not even consider having a conversation where we changed the questions? And there was truly no more us and them, but just new information. We know more now than we did. We have different ways to educate our children now that is humane. And I don't feel this is radical. It is just humane to say, I want our children to know that to learn about something doesn't mean we lock it in a cage. And to understand compassion doesn't mean I'm going to turn away just because I don't know how to fix it. And I look at your faces and I see mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. I have seen this with my own eyes. I have traveled around and see what it takes to run a breeding program and to get elephants to do what you want them to do in a zoo. And I will take any time you would ever give me to sit and tell you the true things and show you the true videos of what I have that would change your mind, not because it's right or wrong, but because I believe in Portland, and I believe that you will leave a legacy to our children that says we were the ones that changed it. We were the ones that said it may have been okay when we didn't know, but now that we know, we're going to change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Betty?
President Hughes and council members, I am Bet Steflik. Activism is the policy or action of using vigorous campaigning to bring about political or social change. In 1960, John Kennedy was elected president partly because of his promise to secure equal rights for Black Americans. Yet he and his brother Robert avoided the politically charged struggle once in office. However, when 13 Black and white members of the Freedom Riders headed to New Orleans to protest segregation of interstate transportation, it was the violence perpetrated upon them that brought Robert Kennedy into focus on civil rights issues. Later he said, "I never recovered from it. For the rest of his life, he would remain a champion of civil rights." It was Robert Kennedy who convinced his brother to take a stand. In a televised address to ask for support of the Civil Rights Bill, President Kennedy said, "We're confronted primarily with a moral issue. The heart of the question is whether all Americans are set to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities." Martin Luther King did not take a stand on the Vietnam War until a young Vietnamese monk and peace activist, Thich Nhat Hanh, approached King largely because of his position on nonviolent action. Nhat Hanh wrote King an open letter explaining the self-immolation of the Buddhist monks was due to the corrupt factions in Vietnam. Thousands of Vietnamese men, women, and children were dying over the 20-year warring. He challenged King not to remain silent, not to come out, but to come out and take a stand against the war. King faced overwhelming opposition. In April 1967, he gave his Beyond Vietnam speech. The one excerpt that I believe is relevant here today, I will quote. I am convinced that if we were to get on the right side of the world revolution, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society, when machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people. And now I'm going to interject my comment. I include animals, specifically elements who are the most like humans in their expression of their emotions. Back to the quote, the giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are inescapable of being conquered. What we need, King insisted, is a true revolution of values. Metro and the public can accomplish a revolution. Kennedy and King did not start as proponents of the issues that they became associated with. You've been presented with 4 letters from distinguished, accomplished, well-known, educated professionals. Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick is considered an internationally recognized expert in elephant care. It is reasonable to ask you to acknowledge the science that clearly supports that captive elephants die from foot disease caused from inactivity and standing on hard surfaces. You say elephant lands will solve the problem. Science and empirical evidence does not support the solution you've offered, and it's been presented to you. In 1 year, 3 elephants have contracted tuberculosis. World eyes are upon you. History is in the making. Stand up to the AZA's backlash. Remove the shackles. As the governing body of the Oregon Zoo, you can lead the elephants to freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Hello, Council. I'm going to start off with a Gandhi quote, but I'm not going to say be the change you wish to see in the world, because that's overused. That's okay. The greatness of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. I can say that for the same for a city. And I know Portland very well, and to say that Portland has been seen across this nation as a great city, a progressive city, a city that has been modeled after in many different facets. And I believe that it has an opportunity to do the same today, right now, to say, how are we treating our animals? And when we know what is needed to support them in their true vitality, how do we enable that? How do we say, we respect that and show the world that we are compassionate, that we are aware, that we are conscious of what's really going on. And that, we're in the 21st century here. That we're past the old ways of thinking. Zoos are not that cool anymore, to be honest. And what's way cooler is seeing animals being vibrant, being amazing, being their true spirits. And I'm not sure if all of you guys know how to break down the spirit of an elephant. It's quite easy. If you don't know, you just take the baby and you basically tie it to a pole. And you let it sit there. And you teach that elephant, that baby elephant, that it basically has no ability to move itself. And that's called learned helplessness. And every elephant that you are currently holding in captivity, I'm not pointing at any of you here. I think all of you people have tremendous compassion to be even on a council. But those elephants their spirits have been broken. They're no longer elephants. They're just images of elephants. But we have an opportunity to say to those elephants that they can have a chance again to feel what it's like to be a true elephant. And to make that decision in yourselves is what makes this city great. To be the emotion of a human and to say we're going to act because it's the right thing to do. And so I just want to let you know that I'm with a group called idealist.org, and we're organizing here in the city to build this movement, to make this advocacy for freeing Packy and for freeing all the elephants with you. Not because we don't like you guys, not because of any animosity, but because we all believe, as humans, as brothers, as sisters, as mothers and fathers, that this is the right thing to do. And that Portland can stand as a leader in that. And I believe all of you can rally around that. And so we're organizing here, we're coming together in a way that's positive and uplifting because we believe that that's how we're going to move this forward And I thank you all today, and I hope you can really dig deep in yourselves and move forward with this. Thank you. Free Packy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the clean